nous allons procéder à la signature de deux textes. Le premier texte concerne le partenariat stratégique entre la République française et la République de Chypre. Le signataire pour la partie française est Monsieur le Président de la République française et le signataire pour la partie chypriote est Monsieur Nikos Christodoulides, Président de la République de Chypre.
Καλημέρα. Κύριε Πρόεδρε, θα προχωρήσουμε στην υπογραφή των συμφωνιών μεταξύ της Γαλλίας και της Δημοκρατίας της Κύπρου. Το πρώτο, η στρατηγική συμφωνία, υπογράφεται από μέρος της Γαλλίας, από τον Πρόεδρο της Γαλλίας και από εκ μέρους της Κύπρου η αυτοεξοχώτης Πρόεδρος της Κυπριακής Δημοκρατίας Νίκος Χριστοδουλίδης.
Le second texte est une lettre d'intention concernant le domaine consulaire. J'appelle les signataires. Le signataire pour la partie française est M. Benjamin Haddad, ministre délégué auprès du ministre de l'Europe et des Affaires étrangères, chargé de l'Europe. Et le signataire pour la partie chypriote est M. Konstantinos Kombos, ministre des Affaires étrangères de la République de Chypre.
Το δεύτερο είναι το Letter of Intention που υπογράφεται εκ μέρους της Γαλλίας από τον κύριο Μπέζεμα Χαντάντ, Υφυπουργός Ευρωπαϊκών Θεμάτων, και από τον Υπουργό Εξωτερικών εκ μέρους της Κύπρου, κύριος Κωνσταντίνος Κόμπος.
Cette cérémonie est maintenant terminée. Nous allons passer aux déclarations à la presse et j'invite Monsieur le Président de la République à prendre la parole.
Merci beaucoup. Monsieur le Président, cher Nikos, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, Mesdames, Messieurs les ambassadeurs, Mesdames et Messieurs...
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to welcome today in Paris the President of the Republic of Cyprus, Nikos Christodoulides, on the eve of the Cyprus presidency of the Council of the European Union to be held in the first half of 2026, as well as to strengthen the ties of friendship and trust between France and Cyprus. Today, we just signed a strategic partnership between our two countries, which is a step of the utmost importance. So thank you for the trust in our country, which is now the only European country, EU country with which we have a strategic partnership. In 2016, France and Cyprus adopted a strategic agenda to enrich our political dialogue and support all of cooperation. Today, we're moving to a higher level, centered on strategic autonomy and innovation, ecology and the digital sector, education and culture, but as well as strategic and defense matters. And in the coming weeks, we will finalize an agreement on these matters, in particular what we call in French SOFA. Our security and defense cooperation is important for France's engagement in the Middle East, and our military vessels make about 20 stops in Cyprus each year. Our two navies participate in many joint exercises, marking our commitment to freedom and stability in the Eastern Mediterranean. And Mr. President, I would like to thank you for the support that France has been able to receive for the operations of evacuating our nationals in the Middle East through Cypriot territory, as was the case last June. This support demonstrates the solidarity that is at the heart of our relationship and our membership of the European Union, and very much represents something very unique between our two countries. So as you see, this strategic partnership very much illustrates the strength of this bilateral relationship and our willingness to be as close as we can in the Eastern Mediterranean and work together on the many joint issues like Syria. And we remember that when President al-Shara came here, we had discussions with a number of us, including with the Greek Prime Minister. We talked about regional issues, cooperation, energy sector, and we were also able to talk about Lebanon, which is very dear to both of us. By welcoming you, I also would like to underline that by signing this partnership, France very much supports the United Nations mediation efforts for just, comprehensive and lasting settlement of the Cyprus question, in accordance with the parameters agreed at the United Nations and compatible with the community acquis, so that all Cypriots can live together on a reunited island. I welcome your trilateral meeting last week with Mr. Erdogan and Mrs. Holguin last week in Cyprus. I hope that these exchanges will allow the inter-Cypriot negotiations to resume quickly with a view to a just and lasting solution. I always perceived you as being a man of dialogue, responsibility, very brave as well, and France is playing its role. Regarding your presidency of the Council of the European Union, France knows that we can count on you to ensure that Europe asserts its own interests and its strategic autonomy. Our two countries share the very same vision of a strong and sovereign Europe facing all our challenges: security threats from uninhibited competitors, unfair trade practices, external overcapacity that affect our industrial footprint, the threats to our democracies and our youth, from electoral interference to the protection of our children in the age of social networks. So the Cyprus presidency can count on France's support to strengthen the security and defense of our continent and to continue to support Ukraine in the face of Russian aggression and to reach a just settlement guaranteeing a lasting peace, as well as to implement all the measures in the Draghi report for competitiveness, for regulatory simplification, to European preference for investment in strategic sectors, to the Capital Markets Union, to trade defense. Also to move forward on the next Union multi-annual financial framework for 2028-2034 for a competitive sovereign European Union, including the CAP, to ensure as well that in June the European Pact for Asylum and Migration comes into force to protect the Union's borders and to ensure balance between solidarity and responsibility. Let me also say here that we support your initiative so that the Mediterranean is at the heart of the European agenda. We talked about the Eastern Mediterranean, but it applies to all its shores. And let me re-express our full support to all these initiatives. Mr. President, dear Nikos, you know that on the eve of this presidency, France will stand by you. We will support your initiatives. We will act together with you. So a warm welcome for coming to Paris this morning. It is an honor, and thank you for the trust you expressed in signing this partnership. And once again, you will enjoy all of our support for a successful presidency. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, dear Emmanuel, ladies and gentlemen, I'm exceptionally pleased to be in Paris today at the final stop of my tour of European capitals ahead of Cyprus presidency of the Council of the European Union in just 16 days. And my presence here in Paris is no coincidence. France is a long-standing, trusted, close partner, both bilaterally and within the European Union. And our two countries are bound by shared values and interests, a common strategic outlook, and a joint vision for our common European family. I would like to thank the President and his team for the excellent discussion, both on the bilateral front as well as on our shared European priorities, our continued support to Ukraine and its defense, its territorial integrity, sovereignty, and independence, as well as on issues of competitiveness, the next MFF, security and defense, and bolstering the social cohesion of our Union. We also discussed today regional developments in the Eastern Mediterranean, the greater Middle East, Cyprus' immediate neighborhood, a region of challenge, but also of immense opportunity for Europe, where development impacts us significantly, and where we have no choice but to engage more as a European Union, as strategic players. These are areas where Cyprus and France will continue working closely together and coordinate during the Cyprus presidency. Today is also a historic day for our bilateral relations. The signing of the Strategic Joint Declaration and its action plan marks a highly significant new chapter in Cyprus-France relations, that of determined and ambitious strategic partnership. With the Strategic Joint Declaration, we declare our determination to elevate our bilateral cooperation to a new level. With renewed shared ambition, responding to the challenges of today's increasingly complex global context in which bilateral and international cooperation has become more essential than ever, and through a structured and results-oriented mechanism focusing on key areas such as energy, defense and security, education, culture and innovation. It is in essence a clear political statement and a tangible expression of the strategic nature of our partnership, setting out a shared vision and concrete priorities for the years ahead. Together, we continue to build with vision on what is a strong foundation. France constitutes a invaluable strategic partner for Cyprus in the key sectors of defense and energy. We value immensely Total's long-standing presence and important discoveries in Cyprus' exclusive economic zone, and at the same time, in defense, there is constantly growing collaboration between our respective ministries of defense, including now in the context of the European Union Safe Mechanism. And as the President very correctly mentioned, we are working to sign very soon the SOFA agreement. The bond between Cyprus and France is anchored, of course, on the close people-to-people ties, which continue to grow. Education and culture remain central pillars of our cooperation, reflected also by the presence of the French Cypriot schools of Nicosia and Limassol. I'm also thankful for France's concrete support in our efforts to become full member of the Schengen area in 2026, including the signing of a letter of intent to this end by our ministers today. Finally, I want to thank President Macron for France's long-standing principled position on the Cyprus problem. I took the opportunity today to inform the President on our latest efforts to resume negotiations for a comprehensive settlement in line always with the relevant UN Security Council resolutions and EU legislation, values and principles. We also discussed the very important role France plays as the only EU member state that is also a permanent member of the UN Security Council. Dear friends, it is my firm conviction that the European Union, in supporting this UN-led process, has the tools for a mutually beneficial situation for all parties, including Turkey, so long as Ankara abides by the agreed framework set out by the UN resolutions and, of course, the European Union decisions. Thank you, Manuel, for the substantive discussions, and I really look forward to welcoming you in Cyprus pretty soon. Thank you very much.
And I welcome. Thank you.